we can earn enough to take care of ourselves and our families?
Thank you very much for the question. I would say to you just from the start that there's absolutely a need to make sure that collective bargaining is a part of our everyday and that people can unionize. And where there is a vacuum and where there is no coverage, we need to allow that. Even whatever private healthcare industry, CEO, whatever it might be, people have to understand that people have rights to organize, to be able to do the kind of voting that is not tampered with, that you don't see lawyers, as I said, consultants, high-paid people who come in and intimidate you and call you, harass you, and tell you that you can't organize. And you do it through example. You do it through also building that union camaraderie with your other brother and sister unions that have already been successful. And you start to put training dollars into things like that. And you allow, and you go after unscrupulous businesses that are doing the wrong thing, that aren't allowing you to organize, that'll cut your paycheck. Make sure that you don't make over 40 hours so you don't get any benefits. That's the other thing. We gotta make sure that we clean that up. And make sure that there are more than just minimum wage, but livable wages, and a pension, and retirement, and a way that you can be in the middle class. In addition, more training for your industry as well. Because we have a growing industry, and this is true even when it went back to the recession. The growth in jobs has always been in the healthcare arena. And with the aging population and people living longer, we need to put more money behind these types of services and do it where we can lower the cost of pharmaceuticals so that we can collectively bring our money together. If the Veterans Administration could do it, why couldn't we do it now? We can make it happen, but it's gonna take fortitude, it's gonna take guts.
Madam Secretary, our next question is from Mimi Snowden.
Good afternoon, Ms. Solis.
Hi.
My name is Romania Snowden. I've worked as an imaging tech for 27 years in the hospital I was born in, University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. We've seen unprecedented attacks on voter participation, destroying key parts of the Voting Rights Act, closed polling places, purged voting rosters, and candidates that pick their voters through gerrymandering rather than letting their voters pick them. However, even if we were able to fix the very serious issues of voting rights, the very structures of our government, the Senate, the Electoral College, and the fact that whole communities don't have the right to vote are major hurdles to our communities. What major structural reforms would Joe Biden focus on as president to move this country closer to true democracy?
Thank you for your question. First and foremost, I think it is really critical for us to understand that not everyone in this country has the luxury of having the protections in terms of voting rights. And I know in the state that I come from, we have some very strong protections, but we need something that's going to help the entire country. And especially here in places like Las Vegas, where there's a lot of voter intimidation, where people are taking off the rolls. It does take leadership at the White House, also with the AG, Attorney General. You need to have a strong civil rights division. You also need to make sure that people are not deliberately being told, you can't vote because you don't have an ID. You don't have residency. Well, what happened to the person, for example, that house burned down, or they moved, they're transit? What happened? Does that delegitimize them? No. You ought to be able to vote that day. You ought to be able to do it and vote even before, say, like in California, we're gonna have 11 days where you can vote anywhere in the state. As long as your name comes up, you're there, you vote. We need to make sure that we have a system that works for everybody. There cannot be discrimination. And it shouldn't be costly to get an ID. I remember hearing stories where people in the South could not afford, a grandma lost her belongings and for some reason was now going to have to pay for a registered ID so that she could vote. And she struggled. She didn't have the money to pay for that. She couldn't even barely pay the rent. How can we do that? Those are unjust laws. And we need to make sure that everybody participates, that everyone can do it language, that they're equipped to, that we have competent people, and that we don't have people that are also there on the day that you vote, that are turning you around because you didn't understand the instructions, because you speak maybe another language, or maybe you've got some disability or something. We need to make access available, and we need to put money in enforcement, and we need to make sure that states, governors, don't go out and purge our voter list. Just because you didn't vote for maybe the last 5 or 6 cycles doesn't mean that you're not a voter, that you're not responsible. And we need to make sure that our young people on campuses, at high schools, churches, we ought to be able to get people to register in time for the election. And we ought to make it easier for them. So same-day voting is very important. Voting rights is a civil rights. And we need to bring that enforcement tool back in. And you need to go after and punish people that do not abide by our laws. And our laws, yeah, they're trying to retract them right now with this administration, but we're saying no. We're gonna stand up for everybody, and especially for the vulnerable and the people that have felt discriminated and suppressed.
Is that a good follow-up question? I'm curious about Vice President Biden's position on disenfranchised and former incarcerated voters who have paid their, or not voters, but people who are released from prison has paid their debt to society. Has he stated a position on that?
Well, I think those individuals should be able to vote. Absolutely, and he says that. And I will go further, because during the Obama-Biden administration, we put a lot of resources in for reentry programs, for diversion, because we know once you get out, you have to find a job. You have to be able to establish credit, but you also have to have someone who's going to give you that job and that opportunity. So we incentivized employers by giving them money to bond, to get insurance. We weren't able to fully blow it all out, push it out, because time was of the essence. But those ideas and principles were all there, and they continue to be a part of this foundation. And I know in my own state of California, we are changing the way we are dealing with folks that are coming out of incarceration, especially women. Women many times have to support their families. We've got to reunite people, get them back on their feet, make sure that they're also being able to help their families. Many people bail reform, another issue. Get rid of that, get rid of it. We have an initiative in California right now. People are looking at it. Joe Biden believes the same thing. Why should you cripple a family? You haven't even been charged, but you're in jail. And you can't make the bail. But you're gonna be homeless after that. Your family's gonna be hurting. Why would we want to create an incestuous effort there that just puts you in a cycle of, something that is just unbelievable? And it happens to people all the time across the country. And it's got to stop.
Thank you for the follow-up. Your final question before you have some closing remark time is from Cristina Maldonado.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Cristina Maldonado, yo soy de México y vivo en Las Vegas por los pasados 15 años. Yo soy proveedora de cuidado de salud por casa hace 10 años. Señora Solís, ¿qué haría el señor John Biden como presidente por los Dreamers y los TPS? ¿Dejaría que millones de inmigrantes participaran en nuestra economía y en nuestras comunidades, sin miedo al que ellos están enfrentando en este momento?
Sí.
I want to do my translation.
Oh, I understood. You got to translate it.
Okay, so what will Joe Biden do as a president beyond DREAM Act and TPS that will allow millions of immigrants to participate in our communities and our economy without the delays and fears that they face now? What he will do?
Okay, thank you. Thank you muchas gracias por la pregunta. And I know this is a really important issue for many in the union, not just this union, but across the country. Joe Biden, in the first 100 days, will make sure that we enact immigration reform. The 11 million people who are currently undocumented, we have to work on a pathway to make sure that this happens. And I do believe that this will be one of his strongest pillars. He will also bring about a task force advisory group in the first 100 days to deal with a lot of this, to make sure that we are on the right track. We have to make sure that our dreamers, our soñadores, are U.S. citizens. They've already proven themselves. They pay taxes. They went to school. They're good, very good living examples of what the great American dream can be. And they come from all walks of life. We should not turn that back. TPS should also be provided for all those individuals that have already made a home here. Many of them I know are part of your membership. They work hard,